Yes, thank you, Madam Tui. So good afternoon. And so I would like to share you the principles and practices of organic soil management. And first of all, I will talk about guiding principles and then about specific organic soil management in coffee farming systems. After that, linking principles to practices. And then again, practical examples of organic soil management. I will also go a bit more into detail about rhizosphere and soil microbiome, hydraulic lift of shade trees, and practical examples again. So that is what I have prepared for now. I have about 25, maybe only about 20 minutes because we are a bit late already, or we have already, time has gone. So let's calculate for about 20 minutes. So in the next slide, that I think I need the
Can you see the slide? Guiding principles for organic soil management. Can you see it?
Yes, but the next one. Yes,
okay.
yes. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Nina. So the guiding principles, so we have 6 guiding principles. First one is feed the soil, not the plant. I think also in your course you have seen already some principles, so we really should build on the soil ecosystem. The soil in the end should bring all the nutrients for the plant. Then second, maximize organic matter and soil life. That soil organic matter is the foundation of soil health, and as we will see, and we have seen already on 17th of October with agroforestry, with intercropping trees, with coffee, we really have a leverage. We really can bring in a lot of organic matter, and we also will see it later on some pictures. And of course, it will improve soil structure, soil water retention, nutrient holding capacity, all of this, what you also have seen already in your online course. Third, maintain continuous soil cover. So that is really key, that the soil should be covered the whole year round. And in order to avoid any erosion, moisture loss, and many other issues can be resolved by covering the soil. And of course, also weeds will be suppressed when we talk about coffee plantation. Fourth, enhance biodiversity above and below ground. So biodiversity is also key, as you also have seen in the course so far. So agroforestry, intercropping, cover crops. So we have different ways to do this. Above soil ground with coffee, and below ground we also will see then the diversity of soil microorganisms a bit later on. And fifth, mimic natural ecosystems. It was mentioned by Dr. Dree on 17th of October that we somehow have to copy a bit the natural forest. So that is meant by this. And we should also go for a closed nutrient cycling system. And the last one, 6, prevent soil degradation, because all we know, once soil is degraded, it takes so long to build up again soil fertility. So let's do all the proactive measures that we do not have soil erosion, compaction, and any other forms of soil damage. And in the next slide, we just see here, we were digging some soil recently, 2 months ago in Peru, and we made some soil profiles. And here you see the practicals there. And in the next slide, we see the 4. Let's go back. It should come another one. Yes, this one. The top soil profiles and the different shade trees in Peru. So the important issue for us was just to show in a coffee plantation how soil is developing under certain trees. And here we have to the left side, Inga species, soil nitrogen fixing tree. to the right side, we also have an Inga species, and the second and the third one are other trees. And we can see quite fertile soils, especially to the right-hand side. The last two quite fertile. Soil depth is soil depth is a bit more than 30 centimeters. To the left side, let's have a second. We have a bit more soil compactation, more compacted soil. But in the end, it shows us quite good soil here in the coffee plantation due to the, let's say, to the agroforestry system. And as Dr. Dries said recently, we can produce NPK naturally. I think that is true. And with shade trees and good practices, we really can produce it naturally. So a lot of nitrogen is fixed by this Inga species, by this shade tree, and also other microbes will release many nutrients then for the coffee. And the next slide, we also see a topsoil here in Burundi, East Africa. It was under forest previously, and now the farmers started growing coffee since about 2-3 years. So we can see a very typical situation: forest plantation, quite fertile soil, now going into coffee production. So we have to make sure to maintain this good soil fertility. And if the soil is not treated well and you have a quite not good system in place, you may lose the topsoil within 5 or 10 years. We have seen it in various countries, especially in East Africa. So we have to make sure to maintain this good or excellent soil fertility status of this soil. Yes, and you can also see how deep it is. And now some other examples here from Mexico, Latin America. You can see very shallow, very thin layer of topsoil. So it's not really a good soil. So let's say the humus layer with nitrogen, other nutrients is limited. So you cannot expect a lot. So you may build up again soil fertility through agroforestry system. But of course it takes some time. Yes, let's go to the next slide. So some practical applications to the principles that we have just seen or heard. So first of all, shade trees. As we have seen, that I've shown you 10 days ago, a multi-layered shade system, tall timber trees with lower fruit trees and soil fertilizing trees. That is most effective. And again, we should not forget the soil fertilizing trees. If you only have durian fruits with coffee, that may not give us enough soil fertility, not enough nitrogen. So we need also the soil fertilizing trees within the agroforestry system. Then second, cover crops. That can really be a good way to cover the soil between the coffee rows, suppress the weeds, add organic matter. We also will see in some examples that sometimes it may not work out so well because we have so good systems of shade trees that there is too less light for cover crops. But if there is chance for cover crops, yes, it's a good system. There are different ways of cover crops like legumes, like Arachis pintoi, Carnavalia, Stylosanthus. So there are many legumes which fix nitrogen, and also some non-legumes like tropical grasses. They also then add organic matter to it. Mulching as a third practical application. Yes, of course, very important. And you may use coffee pulp and also the pruned branches. So there are many ways, or grasses, many ways to do mulching. But it's mainly the leaves, the falling leaves of the shade trees is actually the main mulching source in an agroforestry system within coffee. And in the next slide, we have 3 more practical applications. living barriers, contour hedgerows. That is quite important when we have some slope or slopy land, that we have some vetiver grass or tropical grasses or some bananas, which really then form a living barrier and will then will reduce quite a lot the erosion, the washing away of the soil. The contour planting, of course, that is key and has to be done whenever we have slopes, to have no runoff of water, but we really have to conserve all the soil that we have in our plantation, and also all the water. At least most of the water should be conserved then. And drainage ditches and channels, if we are in an environment where we have a lot of rains, or maybe have some tropical storms at certain time, then we also have to make sure that we divert some excess water by using some ditches, draining ditches, channels, and make sure that we have no gully erosion or taking place. So that should be grass lined and constructed on a gentle gradient. So that is also really important to keep all the soil in our plantations. So these are the 6 practical ways. And when you see here to the Naturland poster on the recommended practices to enhance soil fertility, you can see besides of a number 1 buffer zone, we have all these practices I just have talked to you is there. Shade trees, like number 2 shade trees, plant shade trees to construct the soil with roots, trenches or ditches, we just have heard to along the contours to prevent water runoff. Then the cover crops. Number 4, spontaneous vegetation, or just also some planting of some certain cover crops. And the mulch. The mulch protect the soil, mainly fallen leaves or whatever you will apply in your plantation, in your coffee plantation. And of course, 6, compost. That is important to add some additional nutrients and give more soil life to the coffee plantation. So that's quite a really good poster that can show you how to do this. Also, it's a poster showing a slopey land, and that's a way coffee can be grown. And that also is reinforcing the principles. Yes, the next slide. We just show you some shade and soil coverage in Arabica coffee plantation in Uganda. You can see many fallen leaves, we have bananas, we have some grevillea shade trees and some coffee. So all this helps then to cover the soil and to have good soil fertility and soil conservation. In the next slide, we see some good microclimate and improved soil fertility. Some examples from Central America, Honduras. Yes, even some slopey land you can see here, and there's a lot of trees that really create some microclimate. There are some Clericidium sepium trees and some other shade trees that are creating this environment, favorable environment for the organic coffee. And next slide again, fallen leaves provide soil coverage. So again, an example of in Honduras, so quite important that let's say all the soil is covered, all the water, whenever there is some heavy downpour, there's many, let's say the rain is very heavy, that we make sure there is all the water will be infiltrated in the fields. Then the next slide, we see some Marachis pintoi, that is a soil that is actually a green manuring plant. It's a peanut variety. It's covering the soil in the coffee plantation again in Central America, in Honduras, quite a good example. So whenever you can establish some kind of cover crop, even this peanut crop is also fixing nitrogen, so also bringing in the main plant nutrient nitrogen into the system. It's a good practice. Sometimes not easy to establish with Arachis pintoi, but in some coffee plantation, yes, it works out quite well. And you can also see some mowing, some cutting of this Arachis pintoi, then again fertilizing with the cut leaves to the soil life. And now I just provided a summary table linking principles now to practices. So we said we have to protect the soil surface the whole year round. And here we can also see the conservation measures, shade trees, mulching, cover crops. And then also the fertility measures, as it says here, the mulch decomposes into nutrients, fibrous roots of trees enhance biological activity. So all this helps then to really improve soil fertility. Minimize soil disturbance, so no-till in coffee plantations. That is really important, not to damage any coffee roots and to build up soil fertility, that we have no tillage, we just do some slashing of the weeds or mowing of the weeds with some machinery. And also the fertility measures, why we do this, you can see it here on the right-hand side. And next, maximize root penetration, deep rooting shade trees, cover crops. We want to bring up deep nutrients up there, so we would like to see some nutrient pumping with our shade trees. Then in the next slide, manage water flow. We mentioned already contour planting, contour trenches, terraces. So we want to prevent leaching of valuable nutrients. We want to that all the water stays, most of the water stays in our coffee plantation, that the coffee can grow well. Then maintain and build organic matter. We do with shade trees, fibrous roots of trees, mulching. So that is quite important to have a lot of organic matter. As Dr. Trey said, we can produce the NPK naturally. So that is key. We need a lot of organic matter to bring nutrients in the organic coffee system. Recycling nutrients is clear. We heard already, or we talked already about deep-rooted shade trees that may pump nutrients up. And of course, the on-farm biomass for mulching will be quite important, that nutrients can be released for the coffee. And we can also see here the fertility measures, the composting we will talk about a bit later on. Balanced nutrients, soil, leaf analysis, integrated nutrient management. We could talk now a lot about integrated nutrient management, but we don't have a time this time, so we may, I guess you can also see some on it in the online course about integrated nutrient management. Also, Dr. Tree has talked already about it some minutes ago. In the next slide, again, we see some soil fertility and topsoil are built up by, in this case, by tall erythrina trees. Erythrina is a nitrogen fixing tree. It's also recommended for Vietnam. It's used also in quite a lot in Latin America and quite successful. And you really can build up topsoil, I would say, within 10 to 20 years, you can even build up a topsoil up to 20 centimeters. So it's really possible. Even a degraded soil, you can build up again by using this kind of soil, let's say nitrogen fixing shade trees for coffee. In the next slide, we have seen it already 20 days ago, but again, the same picture. You can see here a lot of bananas, but also some soil fertilizing trees, and the soil is well covered, some herbs, you can see a lot of fallen leaves. That is a natural mulch, so you also spare time. There's no need for bring in some mulch. It's a natural mulch created by the falling leaves. So that is really a good example to to save also labor costs, that it's just working automatically. Yes, and the next slide, we see what I called all combined: high shade trees, soil coverage improves soil fertility, and raises the coffee yield. So that's a way how we, again, mentioned by Dr. Tree, how we can produce the NPK naturally, because we are not allowed. The synthesized NPK, so we have to do it in a different way, and that's a way how to do it. And you have to see this coffee plantation is quite productive. We talk about 3,000 kg of green coffee per hectare. So it's not just a lot of trees and then we have a bit of coffee. No, the coffee production is really, really good in this plantation. Also in the plantation before I showed you, there's good coffee, very good coffee yield. Then
Excuse me, Manfred, you have 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, yes, thank you. And now just talk about interaction between roots and microorganism. I think most of it you know already because you have done the course already. So the roots cannot absorb organic matter directly. We need microbes like bacteria, fungi, algae or protozoa to break down the organic matter, and then to convert it to a format where roots can absorb. What is important to know that about 30% of a plant energy is actually used to attract microbes. That means a lot of energy is used in the soil, in the fibrous roots, the fine roots of the trees. And also these fine roots of the trees, they also provide a lot of humus because they die off and they get reused within 9 months. So that is quite an important factor. Then in the next slide, we just see the rhizosphere also in your course outline. It's there, but just to say that in the rhizosphere, in the roots, the micropopulation is about 1,000 to 2,000 times higher than in open soil with no roots. So here, all of it is happening. And about symbiont nodules, nitrogen fixation, Dr. Treed mentioned already mycorrhizal fungi that help to dissolve phosphorus. So a lot of things are happening here, but we don't have now the time to go too much into details. And therefore, we go to the next slide of an excellent topsoil in a soil profile in Uganda, again, East Africa. So you can see very good topsoil. And just to the right-hand side, some man is mowing here the grasses in a banana plantation. On the left-hand side, you see some maize, bananas, and also some growing shade trees, like Revelia tree. And so all of it is happening a lot about all this root about rhizosphere. And the hydraulic lift of shade trees, just to explain very shortly, just have a look to the dry season left side. So we can see during the night, the deeper roots, they bring up soil moisture to the soil surface to feed actually the microbes. Because the microbes are important also for the tree. And by bringing up the water to the soil surface, that helps the coffee to capture actually the water. So that is a quite important role also shade trees have. In the end, they also give water to the coffee. And it's not so much about competition. Actually, it's a symbiosis, especially during the dry season. So that is also quite an important issue and advantage of shade trees. And the next one, because I think only about 2 or 3 minutes left, various indigenous fertility trees, such as ficus, are used in coffee farming system. So ficus is not a nitrogen fixer, but it is, I think it has a symbiotic, it's not a legume, but it has some symbiotic bacteria that may also can fix nitrogen, and it's a very fast-growing plant. So it also works quite well in many systems to also include ficus. And ficus species grow all over the world, and also in Vietnam, ficus can be found in coffee systems. In the next slide, again, some images that you can see here, bananas and tall trees used to improve soil fertility. We have seen it already, but just to give you some more examples. And the next one, now I have to rush a bit similar system. We have here a training session of a demo farmer who shows his plot, quite highly productive, good coffee, Arabica coffee in Central America. And in the next one, we have a high density of timber trees. Actually, this you can only do because a timber tree is not providing so much nitrogen. This you only can do if you have really a very fertile soil. If you have a quite poor soil, you cannot do this, you cannot run this system because you will then have problems with nitrogen and other nutrients. But this soil is a volcanic soil, quite fertile. So this farmer has a highly productive Arabica coffee production and has many timber trees within his system. It's very specific, but it only works on a fertile soil. If the soil is not that fertile, you have to do more specified with some soil fertility trees. That's the only way to do it. Then farming system in India, they combine then cocoa with also some pepper. We have seen it already 10 days ago. We have shown you some pictures on it. So there are various different systems, and now I have to come to the end, but just showing you some pictures of tea production in northern India. So they also started now with shade trees. They never had shade trees in northern India, but now they have in tea production. It's quite interesting because they also need them now because to create their own microclimate to provide soil fertility. And in the next slide, we just see some trench living fences and grasses because we haven't seen it in coffee, at least here in tea. In northern India, we can see here some trenches with some grasses grown. So also in tea, they have to make sure the soil is not washed away. And now, just the last 2-3 slides to round up. Here we are also in North India, but we are in Assam tea plantation, and we also have quite some shade trees to provide a favorable microclimate. It's a very hot climate there, and it's working very well with the shade trees there. And here, the one we have seen already 10 days ago, soil coverage in Arabica coffee, shade trees. So that's the best way to do it. And now, one you have seen again the same system, but now in Latin America with shade trees, soil coverage, and I think now coming to the last one, I guess. The last slide, that's again Peru with some agroforestry system. Yes, and that's the last one, impact on soils and environmental sustainability by practicing agroforestry. I think there is no need to read it because you have it also in your online course. But again, to remember, there are so many advantages concerning soil conservation, soil fertility, and also it's important that you know all of this, and you have gone through this already. But just a recap then. Thanks for your attention.